Vitamins are considered superproducts. They supposedly make us more powerful, more vital and more beautiful. They are even supposed to protect us from diseases. The health industry has long since discovered the value of vitamins. Artificial vitamins, highly concentrated as pills, have become real blockbusters.
I take vitamins very often. Every day it's very important to cover your needed substances. I mustn't lack anything. As soon as you have a deficiency, you notice immediately concerning your health and your appearance as well.
I do lots of sport and travel a lot. And I think that this irregular and heavy strain can be compensated by taking vitamins.
First of all, I take vitamin C from the pharmacy if I feel a bit sick. Then I take a high dosage of 1 milligram over 6 hours. And then I usually feel well again because it's a boost for the immune system.
I take a dietary supplement because I'm vegetarian, and my dad bought it.
2/3 of the people in the country take vitamin supplements and effervescent tablets. Every year we spend ever more money on dietary supplements, a market worth billions. Does that make sense? Do we really need them? Do we suffer from a vitamin deficiency? Questions that polarize the experts. Time and again, vitamins are said to have miraculous effects, which ultimately turn out to be myths.
A well-known myth that still persists is that vitamin C can treat a cold, so to speak. That's not true. That's been disproven in studies. If you have a cold and you take vitamin C supplements, it's of no use.
It is always the question in lectures, what are good sources of vitamin C? The rosehip, berries and citrus fruits come to mind.
Around 1910, a nutritionist formulated that the market for vitamins and other dietary supplements, and now I quote, is an illegitimate child of an unfortunate relationship between medicine and the market. And this unfortunate relationship must be ended, and people must be told clearly, if you have a cold or anything similar, vitamins are of no use. We don't become healthier than healthy, and there are side effects.
Contrary to what their perfect image might suggest, canned vitamins can also be a danger. This can be seen in the example of artificial vitamin E. Instead of taking it naturally in the form of olive oil, many people consume artificial vitamin E every day. The fat-soluble vitamin acts as a so-called antioxidant in the body. It protects the cells from the influence of harmful molecules, so-called free radicals, which are responsible for the development of diseases. In a study, 35,500 healthy men were divided into two groups. Surprisingly, the group that took vitamin E had a much higher risk of developing prostate cancer.
There was a huge outcry. The supplement market in the US collapsed, I think 25%, when it turned out that vitamin E increases overall mortality.
International meta-analyses have come to the conclusion that artificially supplied vitamin E increases the mortality of consumers.
Lifelong intake of vitamin E pills has a negative effect. So there are certain forms of cancer that increase. It is not recommended to take vitamin E as a supplement.
In certain situations, the additional intake of vitamins is useful. When there is a deficiency, or when it's consciously accepted, as is the case with vegetarians and vegans. For example, they should supplement vitamin B, which is mainly contained in meat.
There are very few patients who have a real disease that can be cured with vitamins. These include patients with short bowel syndrome who need the vitamin intravenously, and patients with osteoporosis who need calcium and vitamin D3. There, it is a helpful and beneficial drug.
There are 13 different vitamins, fat-soluble ones like A and E, which are stored in the body for a long time, and water-soluble ones like vitamin C, which are quickly excreted again. They take over vital functions such as bone formation and the transport of iron into the blood. Our body is not able to produce them as needed, therefore we have to take them in with our food.
The word vitamin has a little halo. It suggests that we can live healthier and longer. That's not true. It is a betrayal of our good faith. And if it is of no use, the question naturally arises, does it have side effects? Around 1910, a nutritionist formulated in the sayings of the time that the market for vitamins and other dietary supplements, and now I quote, is an illegitimate child of an unfortunate relationship between medicine and the market. And this unfortunate relationship must be ended, and people must be told clearly, if you have a cold or anything similar, vitamins are of no use. We don't become healthier than healthy, and there are side effects.
But there are situations where vitamins can save lives. Let's look at the history of the most popular supplement, the history of vitamin C. On his voyages of discovery in the 18th century, the British sailor James Cook was the first to use the healing properties of vitamin C. Until that time, numerous sailors had been suffering from the vitamin C deficiency disease scurvy. Their teeth began to rot, they became tired and weak, and many, sometimes 3/4 of the crew, lost their lives. James Cook made sure that his sailors were free of this often fatal disease with fresh citrus fruits and a daily portion of sauerkraut. The history of artificially produced vitamin C falls into the period of the world economic crisis following the 1929 stock market crash on New York's Wall Street. Many companies lost capital and orders on a massive scale. They had to dismiss tens of thousands of people. The pharmaceutical company Hoffmann La Roche in Basel was also affected. It was desperately looking for a product that could make money again. In April 1933, the chemist and later Nobel Prize winner Thaddeus Reichstein and his colleagues succeeded in artificially producing vitamin C for the first time. He offered Roche the new synthesis process to be able to produce artificial vitamin C on a large scale.
I think if it had been a different time, they wouldn't have tried out this synthesis, because if you look at these protocols, how they first dealt with this synthesis, the interest was very small, and the hope that it could make a lot of money was very small.
Although the intake of vitamins was already en vogue in the Western world at the time, everyone wanted to be more powerful, there was still little need for the artificial vitamin C. But under the economic pressure of the 1930s, Roche agreed to give it a try.
They were scared and had to do something. You can really feel it in these reports. They just had to do something. They couldn't just sit there and wait. They had to try something, to risk something. And in this case, of course, it was very practical for them in terms of Thaddeus Reichstein's offer, because they could say that they only pay for the synthesis once they produced and sold something. In this sense, they didn't take any risk at all. But Thaddeus Reichstein also misjudged the possibilities of this synthesis. He didn't say, otherwise I'll go to another company, but he said, yes, let's have a look. Of course, he didn't assume that it would be $1 million or rather billion-dollar business.
As early as 1934, Roche started producing artificial vitamin C on an industrial scale. The new miracle cure soon sold like hotcakes in neighbouring Nazi Germany. Soldiers and athletes were to show everyone that vitamin C could massively improve performance. The vitamin was no longer a remedy taken by the sick, but was then taken especially by healthy people to make them stronger, faster and more vital. Wherever greater physical performance was required, according to the Roche advertising of the time, like among soldiers in labour camps and among sportsmen of all kinds, an optimal vitamin C intake was essential.
The background was the obsession with this healthy people's body. It was no longer just about the individual body. The individual body was part of the people's body, and it was everyone's duty to keep the individual body healthy, or to make it even healthier in the service of this larger common body. And so it actually became the duty of the individual to keep oneself healthy, not for oneself, but for a greater whole. And it is difficult to say why the vitamins took that role. It was simply something that was cheaply available, and that could be distributed and taken in large quantities. It tastes awful, but it is necessary to avoid vitamin deficiency.
Vitamin experiments, for example on Air Force soldiers, were also carried out by renowned researchers in the Third Reich.
Germany was a bit persistent. They wanted natural vitamin C, but also bought the artificial one if needed. Even in Dachau, they produced vitamin C from gladiola leaves with the forced laborers, as they simply preferred natural vitamin C.
With the expansion of the Second World War, more and more artificial vitamin C was produced. Tons of the white powder were delivered every month. A saturation of the market seemed to be in the far future.
The most important thing in the history of vitamin C is that it's been transformed from a cure for scurvy to a performance enhancer.
Although the performance-enhancing effect of vitamin C had not been scientifically proven and was highly doubted, the powder was enjoying increasing popularity. In the 1950s, it was added to chocolate. Even nylon stockings contained vitamin C to make them more supple. There was a real vitaminization of society. Of course, cigarettes also contained vitamin C. Countless products contained vitamin C. Little has changed in this respect until today.
Vitamin C is healthy by definition. So one allows everything to be preserved with vitamin C. In white flour, for example, vitamin C is added in high doses simply to keep it white. And nobody asks whether this can have side effects that can lead to diarrhea and all sorts of things. The industry is simply too strong for something simply to be reversed. And then there's always the argument, but in America, they do the same thing.
The vitamania continues to progress unhindered. The purely medical need for vitamin C has long since receded into the background. In the consumer society, much greater opportunities are opening up for the artificial vitamin. It is now the neutral preservative, and under its new pseudonym E300, it is found in countless foods.
Vitamin C ist in so vielen Quellen enthalten.
Vitamin C is found in so many sources, animal sources, vegetable sources. It is always the question in lectures, what are good sources of vitamin C? The rosehip, berries and citrus fruits come to mind. But also sausages. Vitamin C and E are added in meat products. This means that the intake of vitamins is very good in Austria.
Vitamin C is also known as the anti-cold vitamin. It is contained in numerous remedies and medicines for cold symptoms, which are taken by millions of people every day. However, this effect cannot be proven in any scientific study. This is the conclusion of experts from the Cochrane Group, a global network of researchers and doctors who are dedicated to reviewing, creating and sharing clean medical data and studies.
A well-known myth that still persists is that vitamin C can treat a cold, so to speak. And that's not true. That's been disproven in studies. If you have a cold and you take vitamin C supplements, it's of no use. You can take vitamin C supplements as a preventive measure for several months. Even then, you cannot prevent that you get a cold, but it seems that a cold is a bit shorter then.
Es scheint so, dass die Erkältung dann ein bisschen kürzer ist.
But the myth seems to be unbroken. Every year, over 120,000 tons of artificial vitamin C are produced. The results of 30 studies on the effectiveness of high-dose vitamin C, more than 200 milligrams per day, show that taking high-dose vitamin cannot reduce the frequency of colds in the normal population.
These are intervention studies of the best kind, which prove that vitamins do not work. There only are correlation studies that show, for example, that vitamin C is low in infections. And then the first misconception is that you think that if a value has changed, it must be bad. Maybe it's a protective mechanism of the body? No one's ever studied that. There are intervention studies on infections that show vitamin C is useless. So not only do we have a problem where one lab value doesn't mean someone's sick, we also have the second problem, that we do therapies that have been proven to be ineffective and then potentially harm people.
Nobel Prize winner Linus Pauling, who died in 1994, saw things very differently. In the 1970s, he propagated the intake of megadoses of vitamin C for the prevention of influenza. His scientific followers, such as the Viennese physician Peter Lauder, practice the so-called orthomolecular medicine founded by Pauling. They treat, for example, tumor patients with high-dose vitamins.
There is extensive scientific literature that shows high-dose infusions of about 7.5 grams of vitamin C has the following effect. When it gets into the blood, and you can only achieve such high doses with infusions, it has a cytotoxic effect in the tumor cell, because it produces hydrogen peroxide, and the tumor cell does not have these enzymes to detoxify the hydrogen peroxide. It has an antioxidant effect in the healthy cells, so they are not attacked. And the second important effect of these vitamin C infusions is that they can significantly reduce the toxicity of chemotherapy. So I see this as a useful addition to conventional treatment.
For many, treatment with vitamins and micronutrients is a possible alternative to conventional drug therapy. Also for psychological irritations. Benjamin and his father have now ended up with Dr. Lauder after months of unsatisfactory therapy in a hospital. Benjamin was in a bad mental state.
In the beginning, my state was bad, and with the medication, it got even worse.
He was more or less a puppet, a zombie, because he was full of the worst medications, which then caused palpitations in the beginning, which were then immediately reduced again. So he was more or less a plaything. They only tried and tested. It was then said that he would have to continue to take these heavy medications for the rest of his life. And I said, no way. There must be another possibility. We'll look for it and find it.
And they found one: micronutrients and vitamins. They are supposed to supplement the imbalance and deficit in Benjamin's body and improve his condition.
Your whole organism, with all your cells, is exactly the image of what you drink, what you eat, and what you inhale. And if you think about it further, who would use rusty sheet metal, rusty nails, cardboard boxes in the car industry, where you want to build beautiful cars? They use the highest quality materials and the best tools to make a beautiful car. But when it comes to nutrition, and this is also one of the problems that ultimately results in the deficits, they are not optimal in terms of quality and composition. That leads to corresponding shortages.
He's a normal teenager again who's finding his way in life. According to the doctors, this wasn't possible. They told him that he had to take these psychotropic drugs for the rest of his life.
I can do sports. I feel better overall. I can focus better at school.
Accurate and comprehensive blood tests are the basis of therapy with high-dose vitamins. This determines the need for micronutrients.
And that's why I don't think it is right to start taking compounds indiscriminately. This requires laboratory tests, because these are very complex procedures, and we can of course overdose the micronutrients like other things, with undesirable effects and consequences.
Roger Schranz suffered from severe depression and now trusts in the help of high-dose micronutrients, a complementary medical treatment in addition to conventional medicine.
I've been taking these micronutrients for 8 to 9 weeks now, and in the course of this we have reduced the medication from 5 to 1, and now I feel much better. The physical complaints are less. There is no longer this restlessness, this trembling. I had restlessness at times that I didn't know what to do next. I had to move constantly, walking up and down, and that's all gone now. And now I'm taking one single drug, and I'm feeling fine.
The bulk buyers of artificial additives are strength athletes. Vitamin cocktails are very popular with them. They swallow artificial vitamins and proteins to increase muscle building and achieve a better training effect.
Because it just makes me feel more vital.
Because I need it. I sweat it all out and I drink very little, so I just add it.
It's a special brand called Alpha Man. It's for competitive sportsmen.
Scientists and nutrition experts at an international conference on sport and nutrition in Vienna. The experts agree additives can even have the opposite effect during training.
Unfortunately, it's still in the minds of people that proteins and muscles are the same. They do correspond, but especially in weight training, people really believe that more is more, instead of less and better quality. That would actually be better for muscle building. That has not yet got around properly with many people. Anything that weighs more than 1.5 grams or significantly more is more likely to even cause damage.
Protein shakes are often overdosed with the aim of getting even bigger muscles.
Supplements are very easy, and the athlete's mindset is if it says on the bottle to take 1, then I'll take 2. But maybe if 2 is good, 4 will be better. But the other guy is taking 4, so maybe I should take 6. And we have this escalation, so we see reports of athletes taking sometimes 20 or 30 different supplements in a day, taking enormous doses of some supplements.
Sports scientist Ron Morgan is a member of the International Olympic Committee and advises top athletes worldwide on nutrition. He warns again and again of the rampant overdose with dietary supplements.
It might be dangerous. We're seeing some evidence emerging of risks coming from excessive use of dietary supplements. We know from epidemiological surveys that there's an increased risk of liver damage in people who've used large amounts of supplements for a long period of time. We know from only one survey, but it seems to be quite convincing, that people who've used muscle building, young men who've used muscle building supplements have an increased risk of testicular germ cell cancer. And of course, these harmful effects do not appear for many, many years. And by the time the effects are obvious, it's too late. You can't go back and say, I wish I hadn't taken those supplements 20 years ago. You can't reverse the process.
Many athletes hope that antioxidants will improve their training effects. These additives are supposed to inhibit oxygen radicals, metabolic products that are produced in the athlete's body during training.
But those free radicals play many positive roles in the body. They're important signaling molecules. And perhaps suppressing them by taking antioxidants will reduce the benefits from the training. And we have to admit, as in many areas of debate, we simply don't have conclusive answers.
But not only athletes, less active people too like to take vitamin cocktails. And they are who the industry especially has in mind.
There's the idea now of creating the activity pill for these people. The pharmaceutical industry would like to create that, just like the vitamin pills, but as a training pill to give to the inactive one. That would be a huge market, because inactivity is flourishing. But it can't work 100%. Quite simply, training has such a comprehensive effect on the whole metabolic system. These mechanisms of action will never fit into a pill.
Dr. Peter Ferdinand has his surgery for orthomolecular medicine in Graz. He first made his own experiences with the combination of vitamins and trace elements 24 years ago. Through intensive study of cell metabolism and the biochemical control circuits of diseases, he was able to heal himself for now.
Here is what happened to me. When you build a house, you are more likely to ignore it. At that time, I was already working in the clinic. Weeks later, I got a heart muscle inflammation with rhythm disturbances, and the medication didn't help. The state of my heart got worse. And in the end, we were told that they had to register me for transplantation, and that there was a danger as the medication didn't work. At that time, I discovered a book written by a certain Mr. Burgerstein, in which it said that if my heart muscle dilated and so on, I should take certain nutrients, which I did. And in half a year, completely concentrated, I recompensated and was back on track. And that's when the clinic was amazed that with these nutrients, Q10, magnesium, B vitamins, lecithin and fatty acids, the cell membrane got more stable. It did something to the heart. And so far, I still have to take it. If I don't take it, I'll have the same arrhythmia I had 24 years ago.
His heart has regenerated. Dr. Ferdinand was able to normalize the ejection fraction of the heart with micronutrients.
The so-called EF, or ejection fraction, was only 21%, and I should have had at least 79, and that has completely compensated itself. When I'm trained, I can climb any 4,000-meter mountain. I did it on night hikes. As long as I take my substances, I'm well.
Substances that Dr. Ferdinand's patients also trust in. Mrs. Beck suffered from a very painful rheumatic disease.
I had massive problems between the age of 17 and 20. At that time, conventional medicine gave up on me. They said, "We're sorry, you're young, but there's nothing we can do for you. You just have to accept it."
A lack of nutrients was also found in Mrs. Beck, deficiencies which were replenished. Ferdinand is convinced that micronutrients can give the cell energy again.
The cell gets what it needs to change what it is still capable of doing. I can no longer achieve too great a pathology with such polyarthritic fingers. But I can stabilize the joint capsule so that it doesn't produce more fluid and effusions. I can reduce the inflammation factors. In her case, even the rheumatoid factor has disappeared, which should not normally happen. But the rheumatoid factor was there. which puts us in the autoimmune process of a rheumatic event.
The rheumatic symptoms and pain are gone. Doubters say it was not rheumatism, explains Ferdinand. The findings speak against it.
I can sleep through the night again. I don't wake up at night because of the pain. I'm more mobile. The swelling in the joints goes down. So I feel good all round, and above all, pain-free.
Many are still convinced of the benefits of artificial vitamins. The doubters still get scientific support. It all started 20 years ago when a Finnish study was supposed to prove that regular intake of beta-carotene, which is converted to vitamin A in the body, would be beneficial for smokers.
This was a finding that really shook the experts. When the results of the Finnish smoking study were published, many people were shocked because there were many supporters of the theory that radicals cause cancer and that the best cancer protection is to take up a radical scavenger in large quantities.
dass Radikale Krebs auslösen und dass der beste Krebsschutz darin besteht, an Radikalfehler.
But in truth, there was a dramatic increase in the risk of lung cancer in these test smokers, and experts didn't believe it. A follow-up study was immediately started in America, which was then stopped early for ethical reasons.
Man hat gleich eine Nachfolgestudie in Amerika gestartet.
This study also proved that there is an increased incidence of lung cancer.
Belegt, dass es also zu erhöhten Lungenkrebsinzidenzen kommt.
It would have been irresponsible to continue giving vitamin supplements to the thousands of study participants between 50 and 69 years of age. The incidence of lung cancer had skyrocketed dramatically among vitamin users. The substance advertised as a smoking vitamin has proved to be very harmful.
Dann ist man draufgekommen mit den Jahren.
Over the years, it was discovered that high-dose supplementation does not have any positive effects, mainly because certain risk groups are more or less included in the studies.
Mehr oder weniger berücksichtigt in den Studien.
In other words, heavy smokers, people who have been in contact with asbestos for a long time. So where lung damage was already present, and precisely in these people, for example, there was an increase in lung cancer mortality due to beta-carotene.
For the Viennese cancer researcher Knas Müller, it's therefore clear that vitamins can also be harmful and, in high doses, even increase mortality. With certain vitamins like vitamin A and E, there is a very clear connection between vitamin and cancer.
It seems to be the case that when there's oxygen stress, which is typical for smokers, but not only for smokers, the beta-carotene is broken down into reactive molecules, and these damage the genetic material and thereby trigger cancer. At present, this has only been proven at cellular level, not directly in humans, but it's quite a plausible explanation.
A smoker who takes up a large amount of beta-carotene in the form of a supplement is clearly at risk of getting lung cancer faster.
Irrespective of these harsh study results, the production and marketing of beta-carotene and artificial vitamin A continues unhindered. The term vitamin-rich has proven to be very dangerous.
As far as I know, both beta-carotene substances and vitamin A substances are sold.
Back to Dr. Ferdinand's office. He sees micronutrients as an ideal support in the regeneration process of diseases and complaints. About 50 different micronutrients should be in optimal concentration in the body. They are determined by blood analyses.
One of the highlights, I'd say, over all the years with me was that I was sitting in a plane very often due to necessary transatlantic flights, 18 hours on the plane and jet lag and whatever. And I really didn't feel well, as most people don't feel well then. So then I started with the nutrients a week before. I was told that I could take some more. During the flight, I also took various vitamins, and compared to my colleagues who were with me, they were all done for after 18 hours. They couldn't even hold the cutlery properly anymore. They were really exhausted. And I felt in top shape. And they all said, "Please, what are you taking? What are you doing? Are you taking drugs or whatever?" Well, I felt much better than the rest of the people, and that was the crucial point for me, where I said that it helps really well.
Micronutrients are supposed to supplement our food, highly concentrated. We get too little from normal food.
If you look at what's on offer in supermarkets, I think you can assume that what you need is no longer in these foods. And you could, of course, say, okay, I'll only eat organic and go to the very specific places where such food is offered. But I don't think that's feasible in practice. So you would really have to cook for yourself every day and grow everything organically and get all the food from farmers or whatever. I don't think that's feasible in practice. And so I'm very glad that you can take in the natural vitamins, etc., this way.
We apparently get too few vitamins, minerals and trace elements with the natural food. That is what the supporters of high-dose micronutrient therapy are convinced of. In their opinion, we're in a constant state of deficiency, with a chronic loss of vital substances which should be replenished.
I also have healthy people who come and say, "I just want to have a status of how much of my necessary nutrients I have." There are some vegetarians or vegans who then claim, and I do believe them, that they eat enough. But they all have a vitamin B deficiency, a severe vitamin B3 deficiency, they have trace element deficiencies, they have a Q10 deficiency. The vitamins that I eat, and which I then lack in my blood, that is relevant for me. And I believe them when they say that they really eat healthy. But they eat far too little of what is essential in the food.
Even if we consciously avoid food supplements, we can't avoid them. They are contained in all foods. There is almost no product without food supplements. Whether we like it or not, we are constantly supplied with so-called antioxidants, for example, in the form of preservatives.
Some people don't even know what effect preservatives have in terms of antioxidant capacity. This means that most preservatives are chemically classified as antioxidants, which is something people are certainly not aware of.
The vitaminization of society is progressing. Without knowing it, we always eat antioxidants as preservatives. Anyone who then takes additional antioxidants as food supplements risks a massive overdose.
And once again, it's true that under certain circumstances, too many preservatives, antioxidants, can have negative side effects, such as the development of allergies and asthma, which is currently the subject of much debate as to whether some of these effects are due to the consumer behavior of the population. And that is precisely the problem that we're experiencing here today, namely that vitamins and antioxidants are cheaply available. And so, since people believe that they can do something good for their bodies and certainly won't harm themselves, they don't see the limit which they shouldn't exceed.
This is also the case with the new fashion vitamin, vitamin D. The food supplement industry promotes the artificial vitamin and advertises its regular intake to large sections of the population.
I take vitamin D drops occasionally.
I'm only planning to take vitamin D in the winter because we just don't get enough sun.
I quit smoking and the pharmacist recommended vitamin D.
The fat-soluble vitamin D is produced in the skin by UV light. It plays an essential role in bone formation. Vitamin D deficiency particularly affects older people.
With the elderly, I would say that vitamin D should be supplemented permanently, because old people, especially if they're osteoporotic and are in nursing homes already, they no longer have the ability to synthesize vitamin D through sun exposure.
In food, vitamin D is found mainly in fatty fish and caviar. In addition to food, healthy people do not need vitamin D.
What is the driving force in the consumer society? The profit to be made when you achieve commercial success. Vitamin D itself is very cheap. It costs almost nothing. So people don't have to be told that they have to take vitamin D, but they have to know their vitamin D status, because that's the cost-intensive side of it.
Sie müssen ihren Vitamin D-Status kennen, weil das ist die kostenintensive Seite dabei.
A vitamin D measurement can cost €50 or more. This means that companies that sell such test systems are interested in having the vitamin D status measured.
Ein möglichst großes Interesse in der Bevölkerung entsteht, den Vitamin D-Status messen zu lassen.
This is done by setting the normal values for vitamin D relatively high, so that the population has a vitamin D deficiency among 30, 40, and 50% of older people.
50% mit einem Vitamin D-Mangel auftreten.
This leads to the conclusion that it was a good idea to measure the vitamin D status because they know they have a deficit and can then take vitamin D with a clear conscience. But you could also do that without measuring.
Our body can produce vitamin D itself with the help of the sun. So if you get enough sun, you don't need to have your vitamin D level tested.
An article about the unfortunate misidentification of vitamin D has just been published this morning with essays that measure inactive metabolites, thereby suggesting a vitamin D deficiency that does not exist at all. Most people who get vitamin D today get it completely unnecessarily. There is data that shows a connection between unnecessary vitamin D therapy and atherosclerosis, so calcification of the blood vessels or kidney stones.
The fact that artificial vitamins, taken indiscriminately, do much more harm than good is shown by the latest summaries of study results with a total of 300,000 participants.
There are a myriad of products with vitamins and trace elements and so on, and they're directly or indirectly advertised as prolonging your life, making you healthier, strengthening your immune system, and I don't know what other claims. And there is simply no scientific basis for these claims. Vitamin supplements can't prolong life.
Das ist so nicht. Multivitaminpräparate können das Leben nicht verlängern.
Since artificial vitamins are considered foods by lawmakers, no proof of efficacy needs to be provided.
It's a marketing ploy that regularly drives us to the stores. We have to ask ourselves, why are we so gullible that every few years we're willing to spend a lot of money on things that are proven not to work and probably even have side effects?
But the dietary supplement business is booming. More than ever, artificial vitamins are being produced and sold. Profits are rising, while the effect is not proven.
It's certainly a misconception, and this also applies to these dietary supplements, to assume that the same supplements and the same amounts of vitamins make sense for all people.
Hence fruit instead of pills. We don't need artificial vitamins if we eat enough fruit and vegetables.
The people who might benefit from supplements generally don't take them, and the people who take supplements generally don't need them.
Artificial vitamins are part of a huge marketing machine. A healthy diet should suffice.
An average healthy person does not need dietary supplements because a balanced diet nowadays with lots of fruit, vegetables, and secondary substances is sufficient to ensure the vitamin and mineral supply.
Evolution has been so brutal that if we have enough to eat, we'll never have a shortage. Nature has set things right for us.